Howdy! For my assignment, I chose Day 5, Concert 2 of the New York City Electroacoustic Music Festival 2024. All of these pieces were very expressive and well made, but here is a brief description of all of them, as well as a commentary on certain aspects of select performances. For piece number 1, I quite enjoyed how it starts with a quiet ambient soundscape and dissonant harps and strings with harsher soundscapes, then goes back to the ambience, with the strings now used in a more peaceful context, representing a transition from peace to aggression and back again. Piece 1 was probably the least memorable for me, as its concept seemed somewhat bland in comparison to the rest of the pieces. I remember the plucked strings being a nice touch, but the whole piece just seemed very quiet and hard to decipher the different sounds in it when compared to the rest of them. However, one aspect I did appreciate about Piece 1 were the visual accompaniments, which weren't present in the other performances. While simple ambient landscape shots, they were very effective in contributing to the themes of the piece, and I would like to incorporate similar techniques into my own compositions. I would likely try to use similar accompaniments, but maybe with better editing this time, as there were a lot of cuts to black throughout. Piece 2 is also very interesting, opening with harsh electronic beeps and radio recordings, which build up and become more dissonant and loud as the song progresses, and then it ends abruptly. Moving on to Piece 3. Piece 3 starts with highly processed but well-layered glitchy electronic sounds, before violins come in with a repetitive sustain pattern, which are also digitally processed. These two are combined and then replaced by a deep ambient drone pattern and dissonant string sounds, which once again transitions into more loud glitchy sounds and then stops abruptly. Piece 3 was probably the most memorable for me because of the way that it combined acoustic stringed instruments and glitchy electronic sounds that conveyed a very powerful message and led to a very satisfying payoff. These features were memorable because of the production quality and constantly changing sound, leaving the listener always wondering what will happen next, and in my opinion, it was probably the best produced composition on this list. Piece 4 was also interesting. It starts with ambient soundscapes and what sounds like a balloon being strangled. No, seriously, listen for yourself. It then continues on with rhythmic glitchy sounds and everyday recordings being combined, and then ends abruptly once again. For Piece 5, synthesizers descending in pitch combined with modulated recordings of various objects combine, building an ambient soundscape that leaves a lasting impression on the listener. If I had to ask a question of one of the composers, I would probably ask the composer of Piece 5 how they created the modulated and distorted sounds present throughout the piece. If I had to assume the answer, they probably used some sort of synthesizer and modulation hardware, but the soundscapes were very unique and I would like to know the process behind creating them for my own compositions. Overall, this was a very rewarding and engaging project that gave me a lot of ideas for my own compositions.